Aloha. My name is Peter. I've written this story. It's basically dedicated to my mom. And this is chapter 1. It's called My Mother's Last Words. It's a fantasy story based in Hawaii. I hope you guys like it. If you guys do, give it a thumbs up and comment down below. It was a cool afternoon. The clock was winding down to the end of the day. It was my last period at school and I was eager to finally leave. The trade wind kicked up a dirt cyclone that traveled across the schoolyard before fading into nothing. The monkey paw trees seemed to wave in the breeze before righting themselves. There were a few parked cars whose sirens went off, echoing in the parking lot. Some of the kids turned their heads to the open windows only to be met with obscurity. "All right, class. Focus, please," our creative writing teacher said. Our eyes shifted from the open window back onto the chalkboard. Mr. Hamilton's voice was deep and yet soulful. He had this commanding presence about him. He stood straight, his shoulders always squared. Everyone called him the Eagle because he was silent but observant. He was tall and wide. He was bigger than all the other teachers in the school. "How do you feel about this assignment?" he said. His eyes roamed the classroom. He has such dark, piercing brown eyes that you either feel lost inside of them or you felt like you were staring into your soul. He rolled up the cuffs of his shirt that showed his forearms. There were muscles bulging from just the exposed part of his arm. He wore a long-sleeved aloha shirt and sported a khaki pants with creases in the middle with brown dress shoes. Making his way to the chalkboard, he pointed with the ruler to the map he had drawn on the board. "Yes," he paused. "Some of you have bad navigational skills. This assignment is to..." "Psst, Lay," my friend Kim whispered, trying not to get us in trouble, which she always manages to do. She sat next to me in class, thank goodness, in the back row. She's ever the funny one. Some people refer to her as Reckless Kim. I just call her Kims. Me and her have been friends longer than I can remember. "Psst, Lay." Kims has a squeaky voice, so even when she's trying to be silent, she can still be heard across the room. I just ignored her. I'm sure whatever it is can wait. Just as I was getting into Mr. Hamilton's speech of how we as a class have to be better at giving verbal directions, I felt something nudge my shoulder. "Psst, Lay," Kim said. I gazed at her before Mr. Hamilton walked across the room to close the shutters. I could have sworn she made a face at me. Kim's Korean, and like me, mixed with many other nationalities. She has this cute pudgy face with this bulging nose. Yesterday, her mother dyed her hair red, so she kind of stood out. Her mother is a hairdresser, and just like her, they have this outspoken personality. You either like her or you don't. I love her, but there are days I hate her. I turned my head as Mr. Hamilton looked away from the class and approached the chalkboard. "So, class, this is..." "I am not a sprinkler, Kims," I said defiantly, placing my mechanical pencil down on the desk. "No, you're not," she smiled reassuringly before rolling her eyes at me. "But check this out." She reached into her bag and handed me a folded up piece of paper that was shaped like a small triangle. She snickered as she zipped up her bag and placed it behind her chair, carefully not to stir up any attention. "You'll never believe it in a million years," Kim said with a matter-of-fact tone of voice. "Open it," she urged. "All right, hold on," I said as I unfolded the paper, revealing Kim's message as if it was the Holy Grail. It read, "JJ asked me out to the spring fling." I looked back at her questioningly. "You for real?" "Yes," she said proudly. "No wonder she dressed the way she did today. There's always a purpose to her madness. She had on a scantily thin pink shirt with a small blue denim jacket that only covered her waist, followed by a short khaki shorts revealing her legs. Wasn't she shivering in that thing? Goodness gracious, girl, I thought to myself. You crazy? I asked her. She shrugged her shoulders as if saying, so what? JJ, the cute Mexican boy who recently moved here from California, the one everyone has a crush on, including Kim's. I wouldn't trust that boy with a potato peeler. Isn't he the boy who got expelled from 2 other schools before he came here? I said to myself, but apparently loud enough to catch the attention of Mr. Hamilton. Miss Davis, Mr. Hamilton stopped in the middle of his lecture. Is there something you'd like to add to our discussion? He said. Sure. I blurted out like an idiot. I meant to say no, but sure came out instead. He raised his bushy eyebrows. His face seemed to contort as he sized me up. Then he spotted the note I had unfolded on my desk. It seems to me like you're a little too preoccupied, Miss Davis. Would you like to come up and read what you have there? He pointed. Kim's face went ashen. She began to panic, looking for a way out of the mess. I swear one day I'll kill her. Please, no, she pleaded with me. Okay. Must think. It's a grocery list for ingredients I need for something I'm going to bake later on. But sure, I came up with that out of the thin blue air, but luckily I had all memorized in my head. Thank you, Kim said silently. You owe me, I replied to her in silence as well. Clever, Mr. Hamilton said with a chuckle. No doubt he was watching the both of us. I'm sure it is, Miss Davis. He paused for effect, so his words could sink in because I knew he knew what was going on. I'd like to see you after class. He leveled his gaze upon me. We need to discuss some things. Mr. Hamilton turned his attention back onto the chalkboard. I'm sure he was going to give me the 3rd degree after class. After all, me and Kim's are a pair. Usually, Kim starts it. I always get the blame for it, though. The bell finally rang, and everyone got up to leave hurriedly. It was the ending of the day. But before anyone could make it to the door, Mr. Hamilton blurted out, Don't forget, 2 weeks from now, I'll need your final essay, and it has to be something very profound. This is for your final grade, so make it count. Everyone seemed a little perturbed by it because he kept mentioning that for the past month, almost like a countdown. I don't think half the class was prepared. I know for sure that I wasn't. Summer was almost here, and it was the last quarter of the year. We attended Kaimana Intermediate School on a military base, even though we lived about 2 miles on the other side in a suburban area called Leilani. I sat in my seat as everyone filed out the door. It was a Friday, and I couldn't blame them for wanting out. Well, it didn't matter. It didn't matter the day. Everyone wanted out. Kim smiled and was about to leave in eager anticipation to see JJ. I put my hand on her shoulder. You're staying, I demanded. But she blurted out, nope. I stared at her. You owe me. I need you to come with me, Mr. Hamilton said, motioning me to follow him very sternly. Relax, Miss Davis, you're not in any type of trouble. He reassured me, but it still felt like I was in trouble. I guess it was because he asked me to stay behind class, and whenever he does that, I usually am. Today felt different, however. He seemed loose, not irritated or angry. I guess you could come too, since you're her shadow, Mr. Hamilton said to Kim's. We went through a long, stinking corridor, out into the courtyard, and again into another building, into another corridor, and into one of the office doors. Oh, great. I thought it was taking me to see the firing squad. Kim's looked in shock, too, like she was about to see the end of her life. Mr. Hamilton opened the door and asked the 2 of us to have a seat, and again reassured the both of us that there was no need to panic. That still didn't help me at all. The walls were white. The desk, which was placed in the center, was black. There was also a computer on the desk and an office chair beside it. On the other side were two wooden chairs. It didn't feel comfortable at all. Your mother was a dear friend of mine, he said to me. His words seemed to echo in my mind. How and where was I when this took place? We attended the same junior high school together, he said. Oh, I had no idea, I said, trying to figure out where this was going and why. He rummaged through the desk, producing an old faded picture. He handed it to me and kind of chuckled. No, it's not a detention slip. It's a picture of me and your mother when I was your age. Take a look. Sure enough, in the picture was my mother. She had the hugest smile, rosy cheeks, sunken eyes, soft cheekbones, very playful in nature. People say I'm the spitting image of her, except I have black raven hair instead of blonde. Her golden locks flowed freely in the wind. Parts of it covered her face. Her eyes seemed to have this crescent, like it was smiling too. She had on a flowery pink shirt that came down to her waist with a long dark skirt. Next to her was a scrawny kid. I studied the picture carefully, analyzing Mr. Hamilton. The boy had a stubble for a chin. My teacher didn't have a stubble at all. Kim's head blocked my view. She too became very curious. Oh my goodness, Kim said. You were so small. What happened? She said sarcastically. You're in my way, I argued with her. Oops, Kim said, moving her head from the picture. The boy in the picture had his shirt off. He was dark in complexion. My mother was bending over so that he could drape his arms over her neck. I could make out parts of his rib cage. It was awkward glancing at a timepiece from a long ago and staring at the man who had a striking resemblance to the boy in the picture. He had the same big brown eyes, flat nose, and high cheekbones. The younger version of Mr. Hamilton had wild curly black dark hair that had puffed up like a ball. Mr. Hamilton had clean cropped short hair, as if he'd been in the military, no doubt. He probably was. Is that my mom? Kim spat out instinctively. She pointed to a girl with dark hair and golden streaks running through it. She stood off to the side. She looked exactly like her, the same flair as her. She was wearing a colorful halter top, sporting a long white pants. Yes, Miss Wong, that is your mother. Mr. Hamilton said. He watched our reactions and waited till me and Kim settled down. The air was a little stiff, being that it was a small room. The place also smelled of pine sol. It was strong and mind-numbing. My nose hairs was assaulted. Noticing my discomfort, Mr. Hamilton opened the shutters. It was a relief to my senses. Much better? For now, I replied. Good. Now, if you young ladies could please have a seat. He gestured to the two wooden chairs behind us. Me and Kim took our seats. We shuffled our chairs in an arc. That way we had space between each other. I placed my heavy bag on the side just like Kim's. You comfortable? Mr. Hamilton said to us, waiting for us to get settled in. Yeah, I said. Well, not really, but it'll do. It's kind of hard, Kim said. Maybe some cushions and some... I can't do much for your comfort, young ladies, Mr. Hamilton said, taking his seat by the desk. As I said, Mr. Hamilton coughed, clearing his throat. Excuse me. As I said, me and both your mothers, he looked into our eyes, we're good friends. Well, still are. He turned his head towards Kim's direction. I was the smallest of the group. I was picked on a lot because of my size. Your mother, Miss Davis, he pointed at me, stood up to all of the school bullies. Now to answer your question, Miss Wong, he gazed into Kim's eyes. She kind of shrieked backward. I didn't start growing until I was a junior in high school. His eyes shifted from Kim's back onto me again. I am sorry for your mother's passing, Miss Davis. My mother died when I was 10, I corrected him. That was like 2.5 years ago. I know, Miss Davis, and I'm truly sorry for your loss, he said sincerely. I wish I could have been there for you. What I don't get is, my mom never mentioned you before. Not once. I never even met you before until I was in your class. I'm still trying to understand it all. I mean, this is a lot to take in. I understand, Mr. Hamilton stated. Me too. My mom talks about everyone. She would have dropped your name in a conversation to me. And trust me, she talks about everybody. But not once did she ever mention your name. Not once. I'm sure she had a reason, Mr. Hamilton said. Could you explain it to us? I interjected. Sensing the raw tension, he put his hand in the air with his palm facing our direction. Okay, I get it, he paused. This is all new to you. He inhaled deeply through his nostrils, exhaling through his mouth. Which brings me to my next point. He rummaged through his desk. Where is it? Here it is. Miss Davis, your mother instructed me to give this to you around this time in your life. He handed me an envelope. It was old and very crinkly, but still in perfect condition. I don't know what's inside, but your mother said that it was very important that I couldn't give it to you anytime later or earlier, but at the right time, which happens to be today. My mom told you? I said hesitantly. Kim's looked at him very cautiously, raising her eyebrows. Huh? I turned the envelope around. On the backside was the date, May 14, 1993. On the bottom was my name, Leilani, written in my mom's cursive handwriting. I recognized how the letter L was slanted in a weird crooked way, leaning in an angle, and the I had hearts, which she used as dots. Yes, he said. She did. Keep it together, girl. Keep it together, girl. A mantra I was telling myself. A tear threatened to spill from the corner of my eyes. Why would he withhold such information from me? I know he said my mom told him to hold it for me until today, but why would my mom do that? What was so damn important that it had to wait till today after everything I went through? Why now? No matter how much I tried to analyze it in my head, it didn't make one shred of sense. Leilani, Mr. Hamilton lowered his voice. Your mother was a dear friend of mine. I have no reason to lie to you. As much as I tried to comprehend what he was saying, it felt so out of place. My body started to shake. Adrenaline began rushing through me. Everything in me fought to scream at him. I mean, where was he when I tore open the letter, slower than my fingers could muster, without any care to the envelope? As quickly as I had managed to open the envelope, my fingers began trembling every time I grasped the paper inside. I took a deep breath to steady myself and tugged at the content inside. There was a picture of my mother, the same picture Mr. Hamilton gave me, but in better shape. Attached to it was a letter. I unfolded the paper as fast as I could muster. Inside it read, My dear beautiful Leilani, if you are reading this, that means that I am no longer here on this earth anymore. My love, I know this must be tough reading this and knowing that I am not here for you. Nothing could bring me greater joy than to hold you and Kalani in my arms one more time. Please keep every watchful eye on your younger brother. You are the oldest and he looks up to you. Baby girl, I know that your father is very broken from this. He needs your help more than anything to get through this ordeal. I know that it is a lot to ask from you. I wouldn't ask this of you if I knew that you could handle it. I am always here by your side, watching over you. I know it's different not having me around next to you. How I wish that I could take this burden off of your shoulders. Just know that you're doing a great job. I know that me and you had our moments together. It's just I saw so much of myself in you. And I apologize for all the arguments we had. I love you, baby girl, from the bottom of my heart. Years ago, I had a vision that I wouldn't be here on this earth. And so I've asked Eric to hold this letter for you. He's a very dear friend of mine. And if you let him, he'll tell you about our adventures we had together. Yes, I told him that you would someday be in his classroom. So now you know. And if you're wondering if the kid in the picture is him, it is. He was that tiny. Eric is much like a brother to me. Do you remember what I told you about the realms as a bedtime story? My love, they are true stories. I know you remember that day when I told you to take your little brother to the water. I believe you were 6. You came back really fast and handed him to me. Thought I didn't know, did you? I'm a mother. I know everything. My friend Mahina was the one who rescued him. He's the boy I told you about. He's from the realms. The other person who knows about the realms is Eric. Yes, he knows everything more than you do, my love. That is why I instructed him to hand you this letter. If you look closely inside the envelope, if you haven't ripped it to shreds by now, I left you a pendant to go into the realms. I didn't want to hand this down to you, but there is grave evil, and I cannot hide it from you. I love you with all of my heart. P.S. I am in the realms. You knew, but you kept this from me, I pleaded. Why? My voice started to crack. Only now? I couldn't make out the words. Everything seemed like a blur. The room started to spin. I stood up, but I lost my footing and fell backwards, hitting my head on the base of the chair. The lights of the world began to fade. Oh my goodness, Leilani. Lay, help! I heard from the darkness as it overtook me. Anyways, hope you guys like it. Comment down below. Have a great day. Bye.